buttoned down in the house because winter is settling in here in rural Ontario. The snow started to fall, and I'll be enjoying my spirit tonight in the company of myself. Interesting. What we have is Jura 12-year-old single malt. I should go get the can and my glasses and read you the bits and bobs about this particular spirit. Yes, we have from the Isle of Jura, single malt Scotch whiskey. So, this wasn't exactly a cheap bottle. I don't recall what I paid for it, but it's getting close to $100. 12-year old single malt from the Isle of Jura. Now it is an alcohol by volume of 40%. And I'm thinking once you get up a little higher in those single malts, coming in low on that ABV is not great. Because it means ultimately the whiskey's watered down. Now I'm in Canada, so part of that might be just taxation. If the percentage of alcohol is higher, you get taxed more. That's just how taxation works here. It's kind of crazy. Like, you know, a wild turkey 101, you'll pay more taxes on than you will just a regular wild turkey. So, just just how it works here. It is what it is. Now, I will say, this is coming off of a Glenfiddich 15. That's the last single malt I had. That was a few days ago, Christmas Eve. Um, so that's still sort of fresh in the mind. Let's see, what do we got here on the back? Welcome to Jura. Few miles off the west coast of Scotland, you'll find our island. Remote, sometimes wild, yet always beautiful. Home to 200 islanders, one road, one pub, one distillery since 1810, this unique island malt has been our greatest endeavor and our greatest reward. Its creation, the heart of an unbreakable bond between our land, our people, and our whiskey. Sounds like a place I wouldn't mind living. 200 people, everybody knows everybody. You're not going to stay out of trouble, though, that's for sure. What else does it say? Crafted in exceptionally tall stills, matured for 12 years in American white oak ex-bourbon barrels, and the fresh sea air with a further enhancement from the finest aged Oloroso sherry casks. So it sounds like they're aging it in a bourbon cask and then doing an Oloroso sherry cask, which is pretty typical for a Scotch whiskey. The front says it is a rich and rounded balance of subtle smoky notes with sweet sherry cask finish. I got the subtle smoky notes. That was the interesting bit right up front. It's not like smoked peat, but it's again I'm coming off of Glenfiddich 15 years, um, but that was like 6 days ago, and we're into this guy here. So the nose is sweet, but you've also got all that salty, uh, you know, briny scotchness there on the nose, and you've got it on the flavor too. Now, with a lot of Islay whiskeys, that brine is often balanced by the smoky peaty flavor. This, and I'm not getting so much of that. It's not terribly sweet. The sweetness is not very sharp. It's mild. It's round. There's a lot of barrel impact, a lot of barrel bitter that's coming through over top of the sweetness. I think I'm getting the bourbon more than the sherry in terms of the cask. Um, but yeah, that salt and that brine, I mean, that's kind of the primary note up front for me. And then this definitely could benefit from a higher age, from a higher alcohol by volume, I think. It does taste a little subdued, a little watered down. At the price I paid, it's like, you don't necessarily want that. And now this one sat in the glass a bit before I got to it. So I didn't, pour and sip right away. So I got a chance to sip. It really is falling in line with that 15-year-old Glenfiddich I had just the other day in terms of the flavor profiles. The sweetness isn't as sharp. It's not as bold. There's nothing poking out. So all the flavors are pretty well um, blended. I don't want to say blended. They're well balanced, I guess. But it's not even balanced. It's almost like it's a fog. It's a weird one to say. A fog over the flavor profile. I'm gonna sit in it for a bit and see what the finish gives me. All right, now that I've sat in the aftertaste for a bit, the finish for a bit, it's it's not huge. It's not an overly predominant finish. Um, yeah, I feel like this is kind of just a what you expect from a single malt, but it's leaning into it's away from the sweeter Scotch flavors. It's leaning into more of those leathery notes, more of those herbal notes, more of that medicinal vibe. Um, yeah, like I said, you a lot of the ocean is coming through, and yeah, certainly could benefit from a higher alcohol by volume. So like right on the tip of the tongue, right away, the sweetness is like custardy, I'd say, which is kind of a weird one, but a little bit. It makes me think of weird European cookies that have just it's like they're almost like a butter cookie with sugar on top, Dutch cookie or whatever. So sweetness is kind of like that. Really earthy in the finish. Really earthy in the finish. This is a very earthy, not terribly sweet, leaning into the uh, more leathery herbal flavors of a Scotch. This, I believe, is that Scotch flavor profile when people who don't like Scotch are like, oh, I can't handle Scotch. Because this is all those, yeah, leather and wood notes, just a little bit of sweet, not too much. And yeah, I think you've probably got to be an intermediate Scotch drinker to appreciate this one because you do have to dig to find the character of it, but it's there. Um, it's quite a bit different than most of what I have in my cabinet, so I can appreciate that. It does lean a little bit into some of the less sweet Irish whiskeys, giving me a little bit of an Auchentoshan vibe, but in my opinion, in my opinion, this more suits my palate than Auchentoshan. Um, would I recommend it? That's a tricky one because, like I said, you're going to want to be an intermediate Scotch drinker to fully appreciate this one. You got to dig for those flavors. Your palate has to be refined. I got a feeling that I'm not the only one. I got a feeling this would pair good with a sweet flavored tobacco. So a while ago I had a CAO Moon Trance, which is a flavored tobacco. I'm not too well versed in pipe tobaccos, but there might be some of the sweeter tobaccos that this would pair pretty well with. Um, yeah, that might work. And because there's not a lot of sugar up front, I do wonder. I'm just gonna try something here. Let me grab me a little cookie. Funky little wafer here. A little square wafer out of this bag of these. Oh, the ASMR is unbearable. All right, now we're getting somewhere, just like I expected. So that cookie wasn't terribly sweet. It wasn't super, super sweet. Kind of low on the sweet end. Maybe a little bit sweeter than like a S cookie or a ladyfinger. It did exactly what I thought it would do. It took the sweetness off the top of the Jura, and then it opened up all the other flavors underneath. Now, once you've done that, take something that's kind of mildly sweet and then go into it. Now you're getting that complexity. Now you're getting that character. You kind of carve the middle of the sweetness out, and you start to get, you can really pick out those more earthy tones. The brine pops. I'm trying to think of like an herbal flavor. It's almost like a carrot skin or a potato skin, something like that. Just yeah. Hmm. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta pair your spirit with something and you get a different vibe. We are down to the dregs of the glass, and with this, we'll just have a couple last words for 2023. For me, it has been a hell of a year, um, rife with challenges beyond anything I expected to have to face, beyond anything I thought I could actually handle. And I came out the other end of it, um, definitely stronger, definitely a lot more in touch with the mistakes I've made, and certainly much more confident. Well, the Glencairn's empty. We're going back to the coffee, and we're signing off for 2023, welcoming in 2024.